Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought today we would relax and chat about when the next major update is going to come out. Of course, when it comes to the dev cycle, we are at the end of it. We are very close to the update coming. The dev server has happened, it was quite a long one, and I very much doubt they're going to do another dev server. We've had the sneak peeks, we've had the leaks, we've had I'm pretty sure all of the pre-orders at this point. There's been so many pre-orders this update. You're looking at basically, I think it was 7 pre-orders overall. And it's so weird how they've been kind of putting them together as well, with the Tiger and the F-16 together, and then also the Type 74 and the Harrier T-10. But yeah, so they've announced all of the stuff that you can buy, which is usually a kind of time where the update starts ramping up. Obviously, on the dev server, there was a ton of fixes that came in for vehicles, but there's still a lot of problems with them. I'm sure the development team is working through the bug reports, and when they feel happy when it comes to it, the game will be out. Now, there's always kind of conversations about how much control Gadget actually has in terms of when the update has to come out, because obviously you have console, right? With console, things have to be planned way ahead of time, especially since it's dealing with a third-party setup. And for me, there has been times in the past, like last update, for example, where the update came out and it had to come out at a specific time before Christmas so they could do all the Christmas sales and they could do all that stuff. And there was stuff that just was not finished. Like the Panzerhaubitze was not finished, the VBCI was not finished at all. And it was just kind of sad to see that they had to, put a bunch of effort in trying to get those things up to standard even after they'd hit the live server. With this update, it doesn't really feel like that. The F-18s seem to be in a good place. The Su-30SM still has a bunch of changes that I'm sure is going to come through for it. But a lot of the kind of dev server things that are usually a bit off in terms of the later stages of the dev server on previous updates just wasn't really the case here. Generally, everything felt pretty good. There was a few bugs here and there. Usually the standard ones, like the hydroplane ones for naval crashing the game, that's always a classic dev server one. The kind of the stats for the vehicles completely disappearing, which was a very odd one. But a lot of the core mechanics that they're bringing in this time, item recycling, for example, was working. Everything seemed to be good with it. There didn't seem to be a lot of issues. And also at the same time, since pretty much all of the devlogs seem to be out now, I would not be surprised at all if the update came out next week. Now, obviously, when it comes to updates, Gaijin likes to release them in the midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And the reason for this is because you have a massive spike of players who play on the weekend, because that's usually when people have more free time. And if you end up playing, or if you end up updating the game on, let's say, a Friday or a Saturday, and what happens is the game just shits the bed when it comes out, there's game-breaking bugs, of course that affects the largest amount of people. So it's much better to release these things earlier in the week, which gives you time to be able to fix stuff for when, the weekend comes around. Because it doesn't matter how much testing you do, doesn't matter how much dev servering you do, there is always going to be things that aren't fixed because you just don't know they exist. Hopefully they're not game-breaking. In the last few updates, we have had at least 1 or 2 game-breaking bugs that has just been incredibly annoying to deal with in the game, but hopefully this update doesn't have it. Hopefully that is kind of away by the by. Now, at least for me, one of the key things about the upcoming update is now we can kind of like focus on other things instead of the new vehicles. Instead, we can look at the past to developers, and we can also at the same time have a chat about what, at least to me, is more important, which is like the research side of things and all of these general stuff. But also, I'll keep you up to date with more of the news that is coming in too. Now, if the update doesn't come out next week, it will definitely come out the week after. There is no way that the update would be postponed up to like April, right? That's never really happened in War Thunder's history for this one. They like getting this one out at this time, and then after the update comes out, you'll probably probably have another event that comes out afterwards as well on top of it. And that is generally how all of this stuff goes. If it doesn't go like that, and instead it gets kind of postponed for a bit later on, then it kind of screws up a bunch of the scheduled stuff, which they usually do, in terms of events and also in terms of April Fools, which is something that's also coming up in the future when it comes to War Thunder. They've also been doing a lot more sales this year, like bigger sales, at least with the packs for premiums and also all of these pre-orders. So I wonder how that's going to fit in as we go forward too, with different updates and also with different timescales. Because technically, with the 7 pre-orders that they've done this time, you want to give people as much time as possible to be able to purchase them in terms of salaries. Now, this is something that isn't really talked about too much when it comes to these things. So most people are living to a standard where their pay is slightly higher than how much everything costs in their life, right? So they have a percentage higher than where they're at, and then they may have savings and all of that stuff, but that's generally where you sit at. So if you want people to buy stuff, you have to wait until they actually have the salary in order to do it, which means the next paycheck. This means it's better for pre-orders to be around for at least 2 weeks instead of a shorter amount of time, because then they will at least in that period have a paycheck. A lot of the time as well, you'll see these pre-orders will turn up at the end of a month instead of the start of a month, because usually people get paid more at the end of the month, and it's a time period where it makes more sense to put money into these pre-orders because you're not thinking about the bills for the next month. So there's a lot of like insidious, devious things that goes into trying to get people to spend money. And since there are 7 pre-orders here, I can see it being extended just for that reason. I understand there's the FOMO part of it, where they would want to get it out quicker because they want people to kind of make rash decisions in trying to get these things. But also at the same time, it's something that I think backfires more than it does doing the opposite way, where you give people a bit more time in order to pick these things up. The other part is there was a few things missing on the dev server, which usually we see. There was no loading screens for the dev server. That kind of disappeared. There was also a few stat cards which were wrong, a few stat card images and things like that, but those things I'm sure will get fixed over and over. One of the key parts you can actually look at is if you have a look at the Gaijin.net issues, or if you have a look in the forums for War Thunder and you have a look at the dev server stuff, that kind of gives you more of an idea of what they're kind of doing or what they're kind of working on in terms of what's there. And I think that's actually generally quite interesting. A lot of the times you'll get stuck in topics where people are asking for more powerful weaponry for their favorite machines, but a lot of the time you actually do kind of see some interesting topics, and also the changelog helps because it shows you what is kind of being worked on, which is pretty cool. So if you want my prediction, it's going to have to be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday next week. There isn't really another time that fits. If they wait another week, which, you know, they could do, they could postpone it until it's the 18th, 19th, and 20th, that feels a little bit far away compared to what they've released this week. If I was a betting person, I would definitely say next week. I don't think they would have released all of the pre-orders all one after each other this week to try and get them out if it wasn't next week. Because instead what you would do is you would spread them out a little bit more, so therefore there's a little bit of a calm between the storms, so you can kind of talk about and discuss the pre-orders and pick them up too. You let me know when you think this update's going to come out, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in less than a week. And don't worry, as always, I'll keep you up to date with everything. I'll see you next time. Peace be with you. Bye-bye. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.